Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast. Your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to Marvel Monday on the Stuff and Things podcast. I am Sam. Today we are talking about the Loki finale. Joining me to break down the show, it's the Marvel superfan herself, it's Kaylee.
Hello.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good, how are you?
Yes, fine. Ready to dive into the show. And also join us, my regular partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Good morning.
Welcome back, buddy. You alright?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, we had a lot of feedback that you were very missed on the last show, by the way.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah. Both people who messaged in said it was terrible.
Do you know what? I actually got personal messages to say where was I.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Someone's got their email set up at long last.
No, just on the Discord. Cheers, Ryan.
All right. Oh, there you go. That's funny because he messaged me saying, "Isn't it much better without him?" Ryan, what are you doing? Trying to cause problems again? Jeez. But yeah, everybody, welcome to the show. It is Marvel Monday. Today we're discussing the Loki season finale, possibly series finale. And unlike the Marvels, which seems to be as divisive to the Marvel Cinematic Universe fans as Brussels sprouts on a Christmas dinner, Loki seems to be universally loved. I've seen very few people not enjoy this show.
Yep.
So let's dive straight into it. This is Loki Season 2, Episode 6. Title of the episode was, Stefan?
The same as Season 1, Episode 1. It is Glorious Purpose.
Do you want to know what the funny thing is? Whenever we do these shows, I write out my notes, and then after I've written my notes, I try and do like a structure for what I'm going to do.
Yep.
So the very first thing on the structure was I'd ask you the title of the episode, you would then answer that, and then I would say, hey, guess what? That was the same as Season 1, Episode 1, so it's gone full circle. We need to rehearse.
Yeah, my next line was it's gone full circle. Yeah.
Definitely need to rehearse. Yeah, doing these things off the top of your head doesn't work. But anyway, his Glorious Purpose, which as Stefan rightly pointed out, was the same title of the episode of Season 1, Episode 1. So, like everything on this show, the Ouroboros, however you want to say it, because I've had people message me saying I've done really well pronouncing that, and other people telling me I'm getting it completely wrong. So, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Ouroboros. OB, basically.
OB.
Yeah. And it's all about the circle, the sort of snake eating its own tail. The circle is now complete. Now I am the master kind of thing. And so to go back to the same episode title, I thought was quite clever. Just a simple thing, but quite clever. Straight away, we get the feeling of everything's not quite as it seems, because the Marvel title card is in reverse. Did you both pick up on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you both know that if you then play it forwards again, it has a hidden message on it?
I've seen your TikTok.
No.
So yeah, I did a TikTok for this and posted it yesterday and put it in our group as well for you both to see. So anybody listening, go to our TikTok, you'll find it there.
So the fact Kaylee doesn't know means she doesn't check out WhatsApp messages. That's hurtful.
It does, yeah. I mean, it means she cares so very little about everything we say that she doesn't look. Yeah,
You send so many bloody links. If I had to watch them all, it would take me hours.
Wow, there we go.
Think yourself lucky you're not in a football group chat or something then, because the amount we send is nothing.
Wow. I'm a little hurt by that, actually.
I'll go back and watch every single one of the 9,000 you've sent in the past 2 days, yeah?
No, I don't want you to. No, fine. Where's my mute button on this? Right, there we go. Steph, me and you, buddy.
Yeah.
So the Marvel superfan stepped away weirdly. You might hear her screaming in the background, but so like I said, the title card is in reverse. So straight away, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is going to be strange. One of my first observations, one of the first things I'll put to you, and I'll go to Kaylee with you first. Just because I'm going to put all the tough questions to you now. Loki, obviously we've seen him time slipping, and we saw it happen early in the season. It seemed to have stopped. Then in the last season, he was sort of time slipping between not just time but place as well. He was sort of jumping around the universe, the multiverse, and he was arriving in places but where he wasn't. Now he appears to be time slipping back into his earlier self. Whereas in the past we saw him time slipping and he'd see his earlier self, like he'd be there in addition to. So that kind of surprised me, and like one of my first notes were like a big question mark on that. Like, what's happened, what's changed there? Because I didn't feel they really explained that or anything in the show, or did I miss it? Kaylee, did you notice? What did you think?
I think it was just the growth of his ability.
Yeah.
I didn't read anything else more into that other than the emotion is making him powerful. Is that the right term? I don't know. But giving him the ability to control this and own that ability more than he had been previously. Now he started to learn and understand it, and everything is at stake. That's what that kind of meant to me. I didn't read anything more into that. Maybe I missed something. Maybe it was a bit more kind of intelligent than that. I don't know.
No, I think perhaps just you saying that does make sense. I mean, it's a natural evolution where at one point he couldn't control it at all. Then he could get an element of control. I know he was also able to slip between not just the same place but other places. And then, a natural evolution. Steph, what did you think on that?
Yeah, pretty much the same, to be fair. I thought it was just a case of where he is honing in on the ability to be able to do it.
Yeah.
He's now kind of learned he can travel not only in time, but actually kind of in body as well.
Yeah.
Which makes some quite cool visuals of him just appearing places, like within himself.
Yeah, it was great visuals. And also, just as like a character, one of the things I wrote down in my notes was, just how powerful a character Loki now is inside the MCU. Obviously other stuff happens in this episode, but at that point I was just sort of making the mark of, we saw in the Nick Fury season Secret Invasion that Gaia's now become this ridiculously powerful character. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit concerned that when you're looking at Loki, like if you forget the rest of the episode and just focus on where we are at this point, I was thinking, Loki's now ridiculously overpowered. He was already sort of a Norse god, very difficult to kill. Even when he is killed, he isn't killed.
Yeah.
and now the guy can literally control time and space. It's like
he can now go back and change the course of action.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is looking a little bit pathetic at this point.
Yeah, and like Kaylee said before, like she wanted a bit of old school Loki. Could you imagine old school, mischievous, I'm going to mess shit up Loki with these abilities? Like, I lost the Battle of New York. Right, I'll just do that again until I win.
Do that again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was, like, my note here was just like, as an individual, he has progressed a lot. He's changed. He's different. But just imagine if he, Groundhog Day, he reaches that point where it's like, do you know what? Screw it. There's no consequences to anything I do. I'm going to go and have some fun.
He's going back to New York and taking the timer off that nuke by about 3 minutes off the timer.
Yeah, exactly. Just like just doing little tinkering with things so Iron Man gets to it and it just blows him up.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole spin-off mini-series where Loki, during the centuries later section, just like has a couple of years off just to wreck shit. And then sort of comes back to work. I mean, that's a funny show that I'd enjoy. That'd probably be a great What If episode, wouldn't it?
Yes.
What
if Loki gets bored?
Yeah. The concept of the What If. Sorry, I know I'm on a bit of a tangent, but the concept of What If. I always come up with these ideas that I think, oh, that'd be great. The concept's great, and this would be good. and then I see the series list that they put out, and I'm like, none of that. No. I know there's other people who probably look at, oh, that's going to be great, but I'm always like, so many better ideas you could do.
We could have Loki taking a couple of years doing whatever he likes, and instead we got Thanos as a barman.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I quite like that one. Yeah, Thanos basically got convinced by T'Challa not to do what he did because he was like, "Oh, we had a good chat." So I find that funny. So like I said, Loki is trying to fix the loom, and I don't know about you guys, but I found this scene just really kind of entertaining, where the music kicks in, and it's kind of I think I read somewhere it's like a dance sort of old school disco mix of Beethoven's symphony, and so it starts with like the classical intro, and Loki's like, must go faster, and then it goes into like this, and like sort of speeds up because it's sort of like a disco thing, and he's there, timely, right, get down the ramp, go down, don't stop, do this, and it's like he dies, and we're watching Timely die over and over again. And he's like, must go faster, must go faster.
Quicker, do it. Yeah.
Okay, so an observation that, so Timely, with all... Did you notice that in some of the deaths, he didn't have his helmet on?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was all a bit weird. Like, some of the deaths, you're like, wait a minute, what?
Do you think... Because I was wondering this, like, genuinely, do you think that was... He was rushing him so much sometimes he forgot to put his helmet on?
Yeah.
Or do you think there was an oversight that they put a shot in without the helmet on by mistake?
No, because Loki makes a comment to him, doesn't he, about doing something to his helmet, otherwise it will peel your skin off. Yeah. So I think it's a case of he's just like, Loki has watched this so many times, and there were occasions where he rushed him so much he would have gone out without his boots on, or without his helmet on, or he's got halfway down and gone, crap, I left the machine back.
Yeah, because I was looking at it, I was thinking, that's odd. Like, why? Yeah. Like, you got to put this massive suit on, the helmet's there, you know the radiation is going to be ridiculous. You're like, I'll just open the doors without my helmet, it'll be fine. Kaylee, what did you think of the visuals of like watching Victor? Because that original visual of him being spaghettified was quite kind of a shock. Oh wow! But then we get to see it from like 20 different angles and stuff in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It was brilliant. The visuals in this whole season have been
I completely
absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think it was a mistake. I wonder if it was more, just the step on the bug theory. Change one small thing, see what happens.
Yeah.
We're doing 1,000. This took hundreds of years. They were doing this. So you can kind of imagine. Maybe he went in with one shoe on, or
this is the thing I was going to come to, which is the centuries later title card, which is Loki goes, okay, not faster, earlier. We have this great scene where he walks into that war room where Renslayer had just taken. And it's Miss Minutes, I know you're hurting. I just like, it was just very funny. And he was trying to, he was just trying to do it. He's trying to do it. And he's like, again, earlier. So then he goes back to OB meeting Victor Timely, and he just takes over the meeting completely. And everyone's just looking at him like with this kind of shocked expression.
Everyone's completely baffled by this whole
but he's like saying it, laying it all out, and he's also answering the questions before they're asking them, and they're kind of, which shows that he's obviously done this presentation before as well. Did anyone notice the petty moment from Loki in that explanation? I say petty, quite funny, but also a little bit petty, which I think just goes to show his character hasn't changed fully.
Go on.
No,
so the first time around, OB, when he's showing him this model, has the little model of the man in the suit, and Mobius and Loki argue about who it looks like. Loki says, "Yeah, that's you. He's done it for you. Clearly, it's you in the suit." Mobius is saying, "No, it's not. It looks more like you. It's got to be you." So when Loki's doing this fast presentation, and he says, "Look, here's the suit. Clearly, it looks like Mobius. However, it's actually Victor Timely." Did you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought, you petty bastard, but I love you.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna get the last word on this. You might not know. You have got no memory of this. You've got no recollection. But for me, I now know I won.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that about him. But his realization in all of this is that he kind of needs to learn how to do this himself, because if he doesn't learn, he's going to be stuck in this kind of loop of trying to get it done faster. He needs to be able to take over. So he says to Obi in Timely, how long will it take to learn everything you know about all of this? Obi's like, decades. Timely, centuries. And Loki pulls a face, and I'm kind of like, oh, so what's he going to do instead? And then we get the thing come up centuries later. I
loved it.
Yeah, I sort of like laughed and then thought, oh, ow. It's got to be the only show you could do that with a certain character, like the only, like, you know, character that lives for thousands of years. So he's a character you can do that with as well. But I just kept thinking to myself, the Groundhog Day scenario. I always remember watching Groundhog Day and just laughing about that film and how funny it is, the narrative of it. But then I saw an interview with the director once who said he was basically stuck in that one day for nearly like 500 years. And I remember reading that. I was like, that doesn't make that film funny anymore. It's like, that's actually horrific when you think about it. Like that film was like a funny thing. And once the director told me, I was like, oh, wow. So I had this kind of feeling when it came to like Loki and that. It's like centuries. Could you imagine how tough that would be to just be redoing those same things, like existing for centuries in a sort of isolated state's tough enough as it is, but to be just reliving the same thing, just to keep trying to learn constantly. And then we get this payoff where Loki is now basically built the device himself. He knows how every system works in the TVA. You see him walk over and punch the password into the computer effortlessly, which no one else knew. Which kind of suggests that for centuries he's been trying every possible combination.
Yeah.
And until he's nailed it. You know, he puts his head in the thing because he knows Timely's nervous about it, and he's like, come on, pop your head in, there you go. He just runs the whole show, basically, like, and the conversation he has with him. So I want to put this to you. Kaylee, I'll put it to you. There's a moment where Loki's talking to Timely to get him down the steps. And he says to him, like, you do this, don't do this. And then just as he's leaving, he goes, wait. And he says something else. And then just as he's leaving, he goes, okay, wait, one more time. And he says something else to him. The first time I watched it through the episode, I thought, okay, that's just him remembering all the stuff that could go wrong. Do you think that was actually a demonstration of him time slipping? Like, so the first time he let him go, and then he's time slipped back into it because something's just gone wrong. So we've not seen him do the time slip, but it was just like a demonstration of him still doing it as we go.
Yes, and I did pick up on that, and I think again that's just a really clever way of them putting the point across that this is go again. Yeah. I keep calling it step on the bug theory, but that whole century that could have really killed the whole episode for me if they'd have dragged it out.
Yeah.
But the way they did it, we as an audience understood exactly what was going on, which is a really hard thing to do. So props to them for doing that, because I think everybody collectively went, oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I got it. Steph, did you pick up on that as well?
I did. It made me really chuckle, because my first thought was he's just gone back because he's definitely just fallen over the step.
Yeah, it was the thing rolling off the gantry that was
for
me. It was
put
like,
it down.
Yeah,
and then he puts it down. I told you not to put it down.
Did it, like, there was an element to that of all three of us. We got kids. It's like, I told you, don't do this, and then you watch him go out and do it anyway, and you're like, I just said, I like literally. The words about you looked at me, you smiled, you acknowledged what I said, and then you went and did it anyway.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed that. And now he's on this kind of microphone talking. Did either of you as well pick up on, you are so brave. You are doing so well. You are so brave. I was like, wow.
You've worked out through it,
You really have to coach him through this. Like, you've obviously done this, worked out. At what point did you think that we've got to a point he's not reached before? Jump in, Steph.
Well,
okay,
he hits the green button, nothing happens, and Loki's like, no, hit it again. It's a bit sticky. So I was like, okay, they've got to this point.
Yeah,
they must have got to this point. It was only when they actually shot the thing out of it, that's when I started going, oh, Loki's reaction is different this time.
Yeah,
but then someone goes, we've done it, and Loki's like, wait.
Yeah, see, I was not sure because like you initially, I was like, when the thing launched and he was like, okay, come back, I thought like, oh, he looks really kind of emotional, like, oh, I've done it. But it wasn't like you said, even when he's coming back, people are going, oh, we've done it, and he's like, oh, have we? He didn't look sure.
Wait a minute, he fell off the side of it last time. Wait a minute.
Yeah, and then OB starts saying, look, it's working, and that was when I thought, oh, maybe this is it. Kaylee, what about you? Did you sort of have a moment where you thought, oh, we've got to a point he's not reached?
Yeah, and again, his face and the kind of pause for is my answer. Yeah. I could go on and on about that, but it was really emotional for me to see like his reaction. Almost you felt it, you really felt it, where he kind of went, oh, and then
the relief. I mean, that is quite literally centuries of work to get to that point, and as a relief and the kind of like, wow, that's centuries for him to get to that point. Imagine the relief he's feeling. Then imagine the feeling of when it starts to go wrong. And the loom
mate, that would be like
it doesn't work.
Facepalm moment, isn't it? Really, like that's like just the devastation of to have spent like.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm only 33, so I can only look back on 33 years of life, but I can't think of a single day that I would want to relive for centuries.
Yeah,
relive it a few times maybe, but centuries.
Oh no, I had at least one.
He's not even having a fun day. He's kind of learning every time as well.
Yeah, I know.
And then he gets through it all just to them to go, didn't work. Okay, we're all dead anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
what the fuck?
So in that moment, he's properly reeling because like when it doesn't work before, there's that moment he turns to OB and he's like, OB, what could we have done differently? In this, he's not even asking the question. He's just resigned. He's just like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And you see Victor basically say that, look, it's infinite. They're just infinite timelines, and it's like trying to divide by zero. There's just nothing we can do. The loom won't do anything. And so the realization, he looks at Sylvie, and there's this realization of he who remains was right. Or, no matter what I try, I can't do anything. It's the sacred timeline or nothing.
And at this point, I'm screaming at the TV. You kind of realise what's about to happen. And I'm like, oh my God, he's got to stop Sylvie! Oh my God!
Well, see, I was about to put this to you, so you obviously went there. Kaylee, he looks at Sylvie, and then obviously he does time slip back into his earlier self to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
Did you? Where was your head on this? Because obviously, I don't know about both of you. Probably, I mean, I'm like, he who remains is not a good guy in this. He's not. We've seen it. The Kang variants across all the things are not. None of them. I mean, Victor Timely seems kind of nice, but again, we're all kind of a bit wary of all of them for obvious reasons. We've been told to be wary of all of them. But he who remains definitely is not good. So him saying this and saying their sacred timeline or nothing, Loki agreeing with him doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. So I'm still watching this thinking, this can't actually be the solution. Like if this series ends with back where we started, which is the sacred timeline, he who remains back in charge of it. But of course, with the episode title being Glorious Purpose again, like back where we started, I was starting to really think that's where we were going to end up. And like I've written a note like, people are not going to like this.
That was my biggest fear for the whole series, that it was just going to reset. And we did see part of that with him kind of going over and over and over and over and over with the loom. But that moment when he has that realization and he goes back to Sylvie, I did have a bit of a, oh my Christ, what is going to happen? And I genuinely, for a split second, thought he's gonna kill her.
Yeah.
He's gonna absolutely. Yeah. He's realised, and we knew that there was some kind of sacrifice that needed to happen. He knew that it was all going to kind of culminate in him losing something. Yeah. And I, spent the whole episode waiting for somebody to die.
Yeah, that was a little bit like that myself as well.
And I thought, if it's Sylvie, I'm going to be fuming.
Yeah.
But then I thought he's genuinely going to do, like, it's the only way, and this is going to be his,
his sacrifice moment.
Yeah.
Steph, sorry, you were saying something.
I only got to that stage after he had the conversation, which I loved, with He Who Remains. When He Who Remains kind of announces, how many times have we done this? Like, come on, you think I don't know what's going on? How many times? Come on. How many times?
We need to rehearse, because literally the next thing I was going to go into is that.
I love but it was only when He Who Remains says someone's got to make the hard choices, that's when I suddenly went, oh my God, he's going to kill Sylvie.
Yeah, I mean...
no.
It's funny, actually, because like Kaylee, my head was like swimming a little bit of like, oh, wow. Because my fear was he was going to do that and then realise that was pointless, if that makes sense. Like, no matter what he does, there's nothing he can do to change anything. So even if he kills Sylvie, everything just resets to where it was, and he'd have sacrificed someone he cared about. You know what I mean? That's where my head was.
Yeah.
But we have this great sequence again where he's trying to fight Sylvie, but he doesn't want to hurt her. So she constantly wins. Like, she constantly wins and kills He Who Remains. And all of a sudden, and this was so clever, like the writing was so clever, the very first time I watched the season 1 finale, and He Who Remains looks at Sylvie as he's dying and says, I'll see you soon. All of us just heard that line and were like, well, that's his variance. That's a cold-ass line, because he knows what's coming, all the variants. Now, think about that line again in the context of what's going on in this moment. I'll see you soon. And we loop, we do it again. I'll see you soon. We loop, we do it again. I'll see you soon. And then you realise that he knew that. Because Loki turns to him and says, do something, and he does. He pauses time.
And I love that. Will you do something? Okay.
Yeah. I think, as writing goes, that's masterful. Just absolutely brilliant, because when you've got lines that are written that can mean, several things, and then you actually integrate them into the story, where you hear it one time in the context of that and it's like makes perfect sense, but then you hear it again in a different context and it still makes perfect sense.
Yep.
It just works. He's like, how many times have we done this? And Loki's looking at him. What? I think the interaction between these two is phenomenal. Jonathan Majors, like, it's interesting. Like, the guy as Kang really didn't hit a terrifying note for me in Ant-Man. He really didn't show me anything in that I was kind of like, Kang is the big bad threat. But I think I said to you guys, the way that Tom Hiddleston, Loki, put over He Who Remains as this terrifying character, and the calmness of that character for me was far more menacing than some over-the-top bad guy.
Yeah.
And I really think he nails it. Like, these two in this scene, the interaction between the two of them is amazing. Like, they're well acted, well written. Because the thing I love is He Who Remains is a bit over the top. He's a bit kind of like, how many times have we done this? A bit theatrical. He's like mimicking and taking the piss. Like, oh, you haven't worked out how to pause time yet. And sort of does that. And that's been his
Loki puts his finger up. You think this is the first time we've had this conversation? I love that.
Yeah. I mean, and I was just about to say, it's like a power struggle between the two. Like, in the moment, there's this kind of like dynamic, and you're kind of watching it, or at least I was watching it like He Who Remains is on top. I know all about your time slipping. Who do you think paved that road for you? And you're like, wow, this son of a bitch has done everything. Mm-hmm. He knows everything. Like, there's no... But then Loki takes the power from him. He does that. He pauses time himself, and he's like, so how many times do you think, why do you think this is the first time we've had this conversation? And I don't know about you guys, but did you notice his whole demeanor changed? He stopped being this jokey kind of taking the piss character, and he actually then spoke to him like normally. He was kind of like, oh shit, okay.
I didn't expect you to pull that card. Yeah, right, okay, great.
Yeah, all right. And then he says to him like, oh, about the loom. It's like, you know, how are you getting on with Timely? So he basically mimics his own acting, which I thought was hilarious in a kind of really bizarre way.
Yeah.
And he says like, oh, you know, it's a scaling problem. A scaling problem. He told you it was a scaling problem. No, it's no problem. Did either of you work that out about the loom before he revealed it?
No.
No.
Nah, nor did I. I just saw a load of people with the theory like a week earlier, and now I'm like, oh, fair play. I didn't see that coming at all. But what he reveals is the loom is actually a failsafe. It's not a device that can be expanded to do that. It is literally a device he built to protect the sacred timeline. So when there are more timelines, it is designed to kill them to revert back to just the sacred timeline. So it basically means that no matter what Loki did, that loom, the TVA, all of it was going to thing. And just a little throwaway line in amongst this, which then feeds into the ending, I think, is he says to him, like, you know, what about the TVA? And he says, you know, collateral damage, it can be rebuilt. You know, he's like, I don't care about the TVA. I can rebuild it. You know, if the loom explodes, no problem.
Yeah. I
rebuild it. Which I think, again, goes back into that. We noticed, like, the TVA was breaking down in the last episode. And they had that protocol. Remember, like, there was that alert going.
Yeah.
So Loki's then confronted with, like you said, Steph, this kind of situation where he's now had this conversation with He Who Remains, who's made it clear that it's the sacred timeline or nothing. Like, if you try and change that, everything's gone. So to protect the sacred timeline, you have to kill Sylvie. You have to. It's the only way.
Yeah.
And Loki's sort of arguing that, and he's like, okay, fine. Around and around we go. And
come back to this conversation once you've worked it out or something, he says, didn't it? It's like, oh,
yeah, okay. It's like, okay, if you need to go round this loop a few more times before you hit this realization, that's fine. So in that moment, I do understand why you suddenly felt like that was the moment he was going to kill her. I do kind of get that, because I think I'd got there earlier, so perhaps at this moment I didn't get that. But yeah, that's sorry, I was just trying to think. It is kind of like a difficult thing. Kaylee, where did you think we was going to go? Because he just revealed that the loom is a failsafe. He's basically told him there's nothing he can do. Where did you think we were going to go from that? But where was your head at during that moment and after that conversation? And what did you think about that interaction between the two?
Well, I mean, the interaction between the two of them was brilliant. I really felt the threat, and like you, I think that was the first time that I'd really felt that He Who Remains could be somebody to be scared of. And I think the reason that I felt that was because I've been so used to seeing this meek and mild Victor Timely, and it was you almost felt sorry for him, and you thought, oh, you know, maybe he could help, and oh, isn't he lovely, and you know, he's helping the gang, you know. And then you see Jonathan Majors take it to, you know, something a bit more sinister. That was really good. So I really felt that, because obviously it's the same person, but it threw my brain, you know. I'm so used to seeing this character as being someone lovely, so seeing that was really, really good. It was really well done. And I think that was the moment I'd already kind of felt that, you know, oh, he's got to kill Sylvie, and then it was almost as though he's not going to do that. We need to go even further back. So is he just going to go back and maybe erase them all? Like, is he gonna have to get rid of his entire group? And that was when it hit me, and I just thought, he's said the whole way through, I don't want to be alone. And I thought, he's going to just annihilate them all and he's going to be alone. And that was really hard. It was really emotional.
Wow, you went on a roller coaster with this
I
then, because
did, the whole episode. Yeah.
what we then do see is he then time slips back to, again, season 1, episode 1, when Mobius is interviewing him.
Yes.
And he time slips into his self where, he was talking about a throne, etc. And he time slips in and he has a conversation with Mobius where he asks Mobius basically for his advice, like, how do you choose? Because he's struggling with what to do. He's thinking, I have to do this, I have to choose the sacred timeline or nothing, but how do I, like, there's just countless timelines and people, how can I make this choice? Mobius tells the story of, Mobius tells the story of just near the Black Sea, there's a variant that's responsible for thousands of deaths. And he and another hunter go there, but when they get there, there's a complication. It's a young boy. It's a young boy just playing with his brother, and Mobius can't do it. He can't prune him. And it leads to further branches, deaths of other hunters, and his partner has to step in, make the hard decision, and prune the boy. And the situation's kind of resolved. So there's two aspects. Well, there's three, actually. 3 parts of this story that Mobius tells that are kind of setting the internet theorists into a meltdown or kind of thing. I'm going to go to both of you in turn. Steph, I'll start with you, because you've been on point with several things in this episode. What did you pick up on from Mobius's story?
The fact that he doesn't say it's himself, he just refers to it as 2 hunters, and then Loki's like, so how do you live with it then? And it was like, oh,
Loki knew,
wow. Yeah, like, I think kind of as an audience, we realised Mobius was talking about himself, even though he wasn't saying it. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I started thinking, then obviously it comes out that Renslayer was the one that actually did it.
Yeah.
But then in my head, for some reason, I was thinking of Victor Timely.
Oh, okay.
Because he was saying we had to go back and just kill this innocent boy, but then he was going to lead to the deaths of all these hundreds of thousands of people. And in my head, I'm like, so is that how Miss Minutes knew where to go back to drop the book off? Because
no, because he said it was the Black Sea.
Yeah,
that's a key detail.
So it
to
kind
that.
of cut that one off in the end. But yeah, at first that's where my head went to until I kind of was like, no, he was in Chicago. That doesn't work. But yeah, my first thought was, oh my god, Mobius had to go back and he didn't, and that's why we have all this.
Okay, well, no,
luckily not.
Kaylee, what about you? What did you pick up on from that story?
Well, initially, I couldn't envisage it that he was talking about himself. I honestly thought that it was some kind of like folklore TVA tale to encourage these people to do the things that are hard. And when it kind of you have that realization that he was talking about himself, it actually made him as a character make far more sense to me. It really just explained why he is like he is and why he's pushes people to make those hard decisions, and it really upset me because I don't want him to feel that pain and that regret,
Well, there was 2 things from the story that sort of stood out to me. Obviously the stuff, Steph, you're absolutely right, the Renslayer aspect to it, the fact they were partners, that's obviously why they were still close early in season 1. Either of you pick up on the fact he talked about it was 2 boys. I was sent back to prune a boy who was just playing with his brother on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Think about him, his 2 boys, jet skis, the variant that he is. I sort of thought to that straight away of that would play a part for him. Do you know what I mean? It's like maybe that's why he hesitated. Because he said, I never hesitated before, and I don't know why I hesitated this time. Well, we as the audience know he is, he in his real timeline or himself has got 2 boys. He loves being on the water, so it might have triggered something. So I find that quite interesting. The other thing, which is, again, this is probably nerd level 1000, it talks about being the Black Sea, a variant, someone who creates thousands of deaths in that area. In the comics, that's where Doctor Doom is. That's exactly his location.
Oh.
So there you go. Just throwing that out there to be an extra. It's Mephisto level kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I didn't click on either of those.
Yeah, so that was sort of came to my mind during the conversation. But like you, Kaylee, it kind of hit quite hard. I also loved the fact that Mobius, who just met Loki in that moment, had just met him, was still that good of a guy that he had that conversation with him. And Loki stood up, shook his hand, and then everything spaghettified, because all of these timelines, all of these branches are gradually dying everywhere. So then Loki then goes to the moment where we see, in other words, his group of friends get dusted. That's what I'm calling it anyway.
Yeah.
And he freezes time for him and Sylvie to have a conversation. And he kind of explains it, and she's like, so you've got to stop me from killing he who remains, which means you have to kill me. And I loved her taking a few steps forward. He goes, you're not getting my permission if that's what you're not getting,
you ain't getting my blessing, mate. Yeah,
you're not getting my blessing if that's what you're waiting for. I was like, I love that.
But typical Sylvie, just putting it out there. Yeah.
Just so you're fully aware, I'm not frigging on board with this plan. It's like I'm not in this kind of like, oh yeah, sacrifice me to save the sacred timeline. Kiss my ass.
Yes.
She says something to him in this moment which I kind of feel like he was on the fence about what to do, and what she says in this moment to him kind of makes him do what he then does. And she says, like, I've grew up in apocalypses, and one of the things I've learned is sometimes you have to, burn something down. Like, sometimes something has to be destroyed to like make something better. And it's kind of like the look on his face when she says it to him is kind of like, I was on the fence, now I know what I'm going to do. Did either of you have any inkling of what he was going to do? Steph, you first?
Nope. Not even a little bit.
No, I didn't have a Scooby-Doo at this point. Kaylee?
No, I just thought he was just going to blow the whole place up.
So when he goes, now time slips back to that moment, Timely is getting ready to go, they're all there looking at the loom. There's this moment where I'm like, we're about to lose Loki. Loki's about to be done. Because he's looking around at all the people in that room who he regards as his friends, who we know from the previous episode he was basically willing to burn everything down just because he wanted to have his friends with him.
Yep.
And you just have this unbelievably sad moment of the emotion on his face. And I've got to keep talking about the actor, Tom Hiddleston, just an amazing job he's done. And about you guys, it's just this real wonderful slow pause in the pace of this episode just to take that in for a moment. And then he goes to walk down the steps himself, and you see Mobius spots him, Sylvie spots him, and they're like, what are you doing? And then he goes and he shuts the door behind him, and then you get this great moment where he's stood there and you see Sylvie and Mobius in the window looking at him, sort of framed together, staring at him. And he delivers this great line back to them, like, he knows what he has to do, what he needs to do.
I know what kind of god I want to be.
Did either of you pick up on on the, again, I know this is all the sort of full circle stuff. Did either of you recognise the stuff he was saying?
No.
Okay, don't both shout at me at once. Thor movie, the first Thor movie, there's a moment at the very end of the film where I could have done it, Father, for us, for you. In that moment, Loki's dangling off the rainbow bridge, for want of a better word, and Odin's holding on to him via this spear, and he says, no, Loki, because he knows Loki's lying. He wasn't doing it for us or for him. He was doing it for himself. And here we are, full circle, when Loki's looking at his two friends, or people he really cares about, and I'm doing it for you, for us. And this time, he really means it.
Yeah.
So it's a full circle moment. Again, they're full circling everything in this show. It's incredible.
The thing that got me, though, and the thing that made it worse, it felt brutal to me, was that he knew in that moment that he was going to do what he's about to do.
Yeah.
And he didn't stop to take a minute to say goodbye.
I think it would have been too hard.
Yeah, I think he was in that kind of emotion of, I need to do this, I need to do it now. If I stop, I'm going to start double guessing myself.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt, because I mean, obviously not to any sort of scale, but I've had situations in my life where it's like, do you know what, I just need to slip away here. Because if I start saying goodbye to everyone in this room, I'm going to be, I don't want to go. So I'm just going to take exit stage left. And we did have that pause where he's looking at almost like he's taking a picture of his mind of everyone in that moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've made my decision. I need to go, because if they'll talk me out of it. You know, these people, I love these people. They'll say, "We'll find another way," and I'll be like, "Oh, okay." But I've been at this for centuries. I know there's no other way.
Yeah. Yeah, trust me, I have tried every way possible over the last few centuries. Yeah. Trust me on this one, I'm doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he opens the door, he steps out, all the time radiation's hitting him, and I'm kind of seeing his clothing melt away, and I'm like, I know he's a god. I know, like, he's pretty badass Asgardian. You know, we've seen Thor endure some serious ass shit. Yeah. You know, these Asgardians are tough to perish. And he's stepping out on this ramp. How badass was his kind of transformation into, like, the Loki gear with the horns and everything?
Oh, he was pimpling.
It was absolutely epic.
As he walked out, and you say the radiation's hitting him.
Yeah.
I said out loud, "Come on, Godsuit, come on!" And then he started to transform, and I was like, "Godsuit!"
Nice. Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking it. I was just thinking, in my head, I was like, he's gonna, like, barely make it or something, like, just get there, and he's gonna do, what's he gonna do? I don't know. But yeah, the kind of transformation, and I didn't pick up on this. I don't know if either of you did, but a fair few people online have picked up on the fact that this suit that he then transforms into is made of the material, because you can tell by the colouring of it, of He Who Remains Citadel, his palace.
Yeah, there's markings on his horns.
Yeah.
That match the kind of markings inside the throne room, I guess.
Yeah, so basically he's obviously realised, this is the stuff that I need. So he's used it. He then sort of marches forward, uses all his power, and breaks the loom. And when he breaks the loom, all of the timelines start to die. Like, with the loom dead, everything is dying everywhere. And he starts to grab all of them, all of these strands. Now, I know that the terminology throughout all of this has been branches, but I gently, so in my notes I've written, he's grabbing all of these strands like roots to a tree, and I feel really quite kind of chuffy with myself that I wrote that.
Yeah.
Because they are, you know, all of these, they look more like roots now, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's grabbing them all, and he creates this sort of like tear, and he steps through it with them. And you get this great shot of Sylvie where everyone's wondering what the hell's going on, what he's doing. And Sylvie just sort of, the whole realization kicks into her. She's like, he's given us a chance. And then you see him like struggling with all of these strands, sort of stepping forward. And he's stepping up onto it. And there's this incredible visual. And it's just storytelling through visual at this point. And he sits down on this throne, which kind of creates itself, which... it was all Loki ever wanted initially, and then it's all he didn't want at this point.
It was to sit on a throne,
Yeah, by himself. But he takes it because he knows it's what he has to do for everybody else, like the ultimate sacrifice. And all of these, like I said, roots, I think is the better word, are dying. And as he sits down, he kind of uses his power to just... all of them, boom, green. You know, he reignites it. And we get this incredible visual of the multiverse is no longer, like, sort of side to side with all the timelines going in and everything. It's now this big multiversal tree, which, basically, if you go to Norse mythology, they believe that the universe is like this, the life tree. It's actually called... I'm going to butcher this, by the way. Yggdrasil, I think. In Norse mythology, that's what that tree is called.
Oh, okay.
So for me, when I saw that, I was like, everyone thought being a history nerd wouldn't pay off. So I absolutely loved that. I was just blown away by that whole sequence. And then I'm gonna say this now because I think it's a good discussion point. I put in our group chat, and like when this episode was like, okay, I've watched this episode, so I don't know how I feel. I'm not sure I'm happy. Now the main reason for that is at this point I've realised we're done. Like this is there's no season 3. And I'd have loved this show just to carry on, almost like a buddy cop thing with Loki and Mobius going through time, hunting Kangs or whatever. I'd have been happy, just give me more. Obi in the office, Miss Minutes, whatever. I was up for it.
It could have been a really fun show, and it could have brought in cameos left, right, and centre of all people, because if they're the TVA and they're just stopping things that go wrong, you could bring back Robert Downey Jr., and you could bring back Chris Evans, and you could have had real kind of fun with it. As Mobius and Loki going back and going, now you're actually meant to turn left at that road. Sorry. Ding.
So I just kind of like, I had this kind of, it's one of those things where one of the most difficult things in television and cinema is sticking the landing. I talk about it a lot on the podcast. I talk about it a lot with people, and I talk about it. It's like, they kind of missed, I'm not sure. And my initial feeling on this was, the landing's difficult, and I don't really think they've stuck it. And the reason why I realised afterwards I said that is because I was just gutted by the fact it felt like this character is someone who I've known for a long time. I've watched all the different iterations of it, and I just felt really, really sad that the end of this character is alone, sat at the end of time, on a throne, by himself, basically watching the people he loves, but from a distance. And that was kind of really sad for me. And I think that hit me a bit. And that's why I was kind of finished the episode like, stupid show. I was like, kick it into the dirt. Kaylee, I'll go to you first on this. Where was your head? You just watched this amazing visual. You watched him sit down on that throne. Where were you at with it?
There was two things. I felt all the emotions. I don't think there's enough emojis in the world to solidify how I was feeling. But ultimately, I think it was devastating knowing that this was actually the end. But it was also quite satisfying because the loop is closed.
Yeah.
We're done. There's an outcome. Everyone is safe.
Yeah.
He's made the ultimate sacrifice. He's where he needs to be.
Yeah.
So that was really good for me. But ultimately, he's holding the multiverse in his hands.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the end of Tom Hiddleston. It's the end of this Loki, for sure.
Okay.
But I think, given the fact that we've gone into this multiversal kind of point in time now, that there is room for him to come back, I think.
Okay,
so
well, we will circle back to that at the very end. Steph, what about you? So
I'm worried about what I'm about to say now, because you just said you're going to circle back, and I don't want to trip you up again. But
no, it's fine, mate. To be honest with you, it's a theme for today where I've got a plan. Yeah.
So I watched the episode. I loved the episode. I was very confused by the ending of it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a simpler person, so therefore I watched the end of it, and I kind of had to watch the episode twice to fully understand what exactly had just happened.
Yeah.
I live my life on humour more than brain smarts, I think, is how to get through it. So I watched, and then I watched Tom Hiddleston on the late night show with Jimmy Fallon.
Okay.
And Tom Hiddleston talks about the fact, it's 14 years of my life. Yep. It was like 2 series, 6 movies, and a lot of fun. But, that's wrapped it. I've wrapped not just season 2, but it also wraps season 1, season 2, and it wraps 14 years of my life playing this character.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, oh, no, it really is.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the end of Loki. And for that reason, I'm giving it a 1 star out of 10 because I don't want the end of Loki.
So, do you
overall,
think
the season is a 10 out of 10. Incredible. I've loved both Loki series. The end of this episode is a 1 out of 10 because I don't want the end of Loki.
Do you think that possibly, and it's hard to imagine, but do you think maybe actors speak with forked tongue here, where Tom Hiddleston is perhaps just making sure everyone, I'm gone, definitely gone. Oh, no way you'd ever see me again, a la Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, well, he does get asked by Jimmy Fallon. He gets asked about the rumours about how this season is going to link to either the Marvels or the new Deadpool movie that we all know is filming. And the way he answers is so good, Tom Hiddleston. Like, he says absolutely nothing by saying a 3-minute answer. It's fantastic.
He could run for political office.
Oh,
definitely.
he really is so good. Okay, well, of course, everything links together in the MCU. Have you not realised by now that there is a link to everything? But whether Loki actually links to these or not, that's a different question. But everything links together. Yeah. But maybe not this show. Who knows?
I have here just some bullet points to kind of wrap up the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So the first one is the TVA are now helping timelines grow, not pruning. Did you both notice the posters had all changed on all the walls?
Yeah, they're all now
That was very funny. Yeah, that was kind of made me laugh because those like little propaganda posters used to crack me up.
Yeah.
Obi brings Miss Minutes back online, and Hunter says, "Are you sure she's not going to kill us all, Obi?" I don't know. Just like, you're not inspiring me with confidence, Obi. I loved that. Yeah. I loved that scene. I loved that they brought Miss Minutes back online as well because Miss Minutes is brilliant.
I was like, hi, I'm
terrifying.
Miss Minutes. Oh god, yeah. Oh no,
terrifying. But yeah, there. Did you pick up the Ant-Man reference?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we now learn is the TVA are basically hunting Kangs. That is their That is their raison d'etre. That is what they are doing to keep them in line.
Yeah.
And Mobius says, Hunter says, are the Kangs aware of us? No, they're not. Not that we're aware of. We did have one make a bit of ruckus on 616 adjacent realm. Oh, why the multiverse is a confusing thing.
Yeah, the adjacent realm. That was kind of like, okay, right.
Yeah, an adjacent realm. But they handled it, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, we know what that is. That's dealt with. So that was a little nod there, which I thought was quite good.
That nod, just quickly on that nod.
Yeah.
We said at the end, when we did our podcast about Ant-Man, we said, like, the ending, we were wondering what 616 he had gone back to, because, the coffee being made to be paid for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now Mobius calls it the 616 adjacent. And I'm like...
No, he said adjacent realm, because he was talking about the quantum realm.
Ah, right, okay. I was wondering if that was kind of linking in the fact that actually he had gone back to a run along.
I don't think so. I took it as adjacent realm, quantum realm of 616.
Right, okay.
It was kind of, that was how I took it. There's the war room, and they're all heading there, but Mobius has just looked at a file, and he's leaving the TVA. That was kind of a bit of a sad moment, but at the same time kind of made sense. And then we see him rock up to basically look at his variant with the two kids.
So this I found a bit strange.
Okay, so Sylvie comes to talk to him, and he's just basically just watching. And Sylvie's like, "Come on, should we go?" And he's like, "No, I'm just going to let time pass." Which I thought was just a great line for someone who's lived outside of time for
so long,
centuries.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Do you know what? No, I'm just gonna stand here and let the sun set,
Yeah.
And then I'll decide what I'm gonna do." What is it about that you found a bit strange?
It's the fact that he just stands there. It's like, I thought when he was going to go back, he was going to go back and kind of live his life. But
there's someone there.
But there's already someone there.
You'd have to bump the guy off.
This is my thought, and I'm suddenly now a bit like, oh, so does he to just go back and watch your own life happen from the outside? I'm like, oh, that's a bit strange.
Well, I don't think he's doing it for years.
What would have happened if any of them had just happened to look up the road and seen him standing there? That's going to freak you the heck out.
Well, he'd have then stepped away into the shadows and they'd just put it down to weird, mysterious, deja vu,
yeah,
Men in Black stuff. Yeah. Kaylee, what did you think to Mobius's kind of ending there?
Oh, do you know what? It's not very often this happens, but I really do agree with Steph. I was at the same point, and I thought, how can he just be kind of an observer of his own life? Where is he? He's just roaming timelines where he exists in all of them. Where is his place? Where's he going to go? Like, did he just absorb into somebody else? It was really odd. I don't get that.
I like the opening caveat of this. Not very often I agree with Steph. Like, wow, that was kind of nice.
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I
female
do.
voices. Yeah, I get why people say that too.
Yeah.
I get what he's on about. I don't know what it means.
For me, so just where my head is on it is that was probably 10 minutes he was there. Yeah. I know from this show we're kind of like, oh, he was probably there for centuries. No, I think he was literally there for 10 minutes just to look around. This is what my life was. Just saw the guy playing with the kids. Just sort of like, that's really nice. As Sylvie says something, he's like, hey, it's the nicest house on the block. You know, he's kind of proud of the house, this guy and the family. He's just proud of it.
Yeah. It made me quite emotional as well, though. Like, as much as I was thinking it was strange, there was a definite emotion attached, considering he'd said the whole way through, I don't want to see, because what if it's good? He didn't care about... Yeah. He could have gone back and been Jack the Ripper. He wouldn't have cared. It was the fact of... What if I'd have gone back and it had been something good? And it is good. I mean, okay, his wife's not there, not great, but he's there with his kids and stuff, and it's like, that is the good that he wanted, and it's like, poor Mobius.
Yeah, and so for me, it was kind of like this. He was at peace. Like this whole time, he'd been wrestling with, I don't want to know, I don't want to know, I don't want to know, and he was finally able to go. This is great. I'm pleased, that I have this. There was this life for me, and then she's like, what are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna let time pass. He's just gonna sort of sink into the moment, and then he's gonna go off. Obviously, do whatever. So yeah, I thought that was good. Also, we have the TVA Guidebook 2nd edition. Did you both notice that?
Yes, the new edition.
2nd edition, written by Obi and Victor Timely, which I thought was quite a nice nod. We also then get to see poor young Victor Timely without the book being put through the window, so the kid can just grow up and live a normal life.
Yeah,
which I thought was quite a nice little thing. Mm-hmm. We then see Renslayer is in the void. Obviously, we saw her in the previous episode get pruned. We know that's where she is. And we get this great thing, which again brings us back to the circle moment, where we see on the ground in the void, there is the seal, the TVA seal. So we learn that the void has a TVA. Perhaps that was where the TVA was once, or perhaps the TVA was pruned there once. Takes us back to He Who Remains saying TVA can be rebuilt. Collateral damage.
Yeah. I did wonder, is that kind of now pointing to the fact that Renslayer is about to rebuild the TVA in this void and build her own army back again or something? I'm like, this is interesting.
We see the creature Goliath bearing down on her, and my initial note was Renslayer's done,
Yeah, that's it.
But when I watched the episode a second time, just to sort of take everything in, did either of you notice that her face is kind of afraid at first, but then turns angry? Like, she looks like, oh no, it's Goliath, and then her facial expression changes to this kind of steely determination, anger. And I did think to myself, I don't think that's the end for her.
No.
I know this show's ending, but I kind of feel like
there's something more for her. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of...
Did you see the pyramids?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And the Sphinx with Kang's face on it.
Yeah, that was strange.
Yeah.
We know there's a variant that's got a link to a pyramid.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. And that's just something I saw someone theorize a while back. Like, why was she so important to win the war? Why was she so important? I saw someone theorize she was the one who tamed Goliath. And I was just sort of thought to myself, if that's true, if that theory is correct, sending her there, pruning her to that place was like the worst thing you could have done.
God, yeah, if she's tamed him, then yeah, jeez.
But that was just kind of an interesting thing. So, I mean, like I said, those were the bullet points to kind of wrap up. We know that Loki is now the god of stories. Again, Norse mythology and then into the MCU. So just something that's probably a little bit throwaway, but I picked up on, and I don't know whether you guys did as well. Loki, what colour do you associate with Loki, Kaylee?
Green and gold.
Green, you know, first one's green, really, but green and gold, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Steph, what colour's the time stone?
Green.
Coincidence?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Loki, the master of all time and space, or master of all time, is green. Time stone is green. There we go, everybody. Just throwing that out there. Just to mess with people a little bit.
You're going to get messages from Becky and stuff on there telling you off for messing with them again, aren't you?
I don't care. Bring it on. I think this show's messed with us all enough. I don't think I should be blamed.
No.
But that is all my notes. Steph, did you have anything else from the episode or the season you wanted to discuss?
No, just I loved it. I know I haven't been on the podcast as much for this season as I would have liked to have been with health and work and everything else this side. But no, I have very much enjoyed the episodes that I've been able to talk to you with. I've enjoyed the episodes I haven't been able to talk to you with.
Loki season 2 in all the MCU Disney Plus shows, does it rank near the top for you? Or has it taken top spot?
It's up there. It's right up there, that's for sure.
Ooh, you're not willing to commit. Fair enough. Kaylee, what about you?
Well, it's definitely number 2. It's not going to.
WandaVision still your number 1.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this season for me was better than season 1.
Yeah. That's
it was head spinny. It was emotional. It was dramatic. It was beautifully shot. Yeah. It was absolutely amazing.
No, I agree. Absolutely loved it from start to finish. I'm sad it's over. But one of the things I did say I'll just circle back to, Kaylee, is confirmed now, thanks to the writer's strike being over, we're getting lots and lots more details confirmed by studios, confirmed by people, is that the TVA will 100%, with a lot of the cast, Miss Minutes, Mobius, be in Deadpool 3. It's not rumour, it has now been confirmed.
Yes.
So therefore, we know that there is still life for a few of these characters, even if it's a bit of a silly cameo or something we don't know.
Makes me happy to know
in that film.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It does make me happy that we're going to see them again. Mobius interacting with Deadpool could be funny, for so many reasons. Mostly because, Deadpool is like, wow.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you to everybody who's been listening and messaging during the Loki run. Marvel Monday's been a lot of fun. Marvel Monday will be back very soon because we are going to be discussing the Marvels.
Yes.
The Marvels on Marvel Monday. Oh, that's going to trip me up. That film is in the cinema now. We're all going to be watching it very soon, and then we'll be putting a show out to discuss it. So far, the critical reviews are very mixed. The fan reviews are really one extreme to the other. I don't think I've seen anyone who's just like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
It's very much...
It's either the best movie or the worst thing they've ever made.
Ever.
Yeah.
So I'm delighted to say I'm not in either of those camps. But we'll be bringing that to you really soon. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back. Kaylee, say goodbye to all the lovely people.
Goodbye, lovely people.
Steph, say goodbye to everybody.
I'll say goodbye to all the lovely people and to Lucy because she messaged me telling me that she's not lovely, so it's fine.
Okay, we'll be back real soon.
I know what I want. I know what kind of God I need to be. For you. For all of us.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.